All right. Hello, I am Dr. Nicole Carroll. I am a senior lecturer in music at the Queensland University of Technology in Brisbane, Australia, and very recently a full-time lecturer at the University of Newcastle, now a conjoint. I'm joining you today from Brisbane, Australia, where it is currently 4:30 a.m., which means I'm the only person from my team joining you today. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Turrbal and Yagara people, the traditional custodians of the land on which I live and work, and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and future. I would also like to acknowledge the Awabakal and Warmi peoples as the traditional custodians of the land and waters situated within Newcastle, where the primary research and field work for this project is taking place. Just looking out, okay. Shooting chat, okay. Going ahead, so I am the lead CI of the project, Newcastle Harbour Listening, and I am supported by colleagues at the University of Newcastle, including Chloe Killian, whose expertise is in science communication, Andrew Stein, a fine artist focusing on data visualization and multimedia projects, and from the School of Environmental and Life Sciences, I'm working with Associate Professor Troy Gaston and Brittany Valenzi, whose focus is on marine ecology and noise mitigation. Our industry partner is the Port of Newcastle, so this is truly an interdisciplinary art-science collaboration. What does the Newcastle Harbour sound like in the harbour? This project will offer listeners and viewers a glimpse of the Newcastle Harbour aquatic ecosystem. Audiences may be surprised by the density and intensity of the oral landscape. The complexities of life under the surface are both musical and oppressive, and a novel listening experience for most. The aquatic soundscape is rich with sounds that for many listeners may seem alien. Percussive effects of mechanical motion of water and air, delicate but loud pops of snapping shrimp, soniferous fish and insects such as aquatic beetles, melodic mammal communications, and noise from motors, dredgers, and in Newcastle, the constant din of port mechanics. The first aim of this project is to collect recordings and to simply listen and to offer that listening experience to others through creative outputs, educational materials, and community workshops. A long-term goal of the project is to raise awareness of our current ecosystems, especially ones so integral to the landscape and economy of Newcastle. Ecological awareness may inspire and instigate future initiatives towards risk management and preservation, but first we have to experience the ecosystem from outside of our anthropocentric perspective and consider the immersive landscape of aquatic sound. Through long durational recordings, trends in the acoustic profile of the harbor may be tracked. This information may be used to draw correlations between the environmental changes, vessel activity, and marine life. The diverse art practices of the team will be used to translate the audio recordings and data into various art forms and genres for optimal audience engagement via creative outputs planned for group exhibition in 2024 in conjunction with community listening workshops. Passive acoustic monitoring is the primary tool used to understand the health of aquatic ecosystems, including species diversity and possible risk factors. A key advantage of audio recording for biomonitoring is that it is minimally invasive, unlike catch and count methods, so results present a more accurate representation as the monitoring methods do not interfere with the subject. Acoustic monitoring can capture a full soundscape for a more holistic image, unlike sensors that measure physical characteristics such as temperature, pH, or water levels and flow. Further, long-duration acoustic monitoring offers several advantages over manual recording. Long-duration recordings allow for continuous recording without disturbance, with only limitations being battery life and data storage. LDRs capture the entire soundscape for an extended time so that all elements are captured without disruption of time or location. While the field is growing, acoustic monitoring of underwater environments is not yet a standard method of biomonitoring. The Port of Newcastle currently monitors for invasive species, but does not include acoustic monitoring as part of their sensor network. Sound profiles can reveal presence and patterns of marine life, including migration patterns and communications, anthropogenic objects, and potential impacts of those sound-making anthropogenic objects, such as changes in migration and communication masking. In addition to promoting ecological awareness among the community, data from Newcastle harbor listening can contribute widely to this evolving field of research, as well as inform local harbor management practices. Following a practical field recording-based methodology central to acoustic ecology and bioacoustics, hydrophones, or microphones designed for water submersion, will be placed in several locations along the Hunter River in the Newcastle Harbor and remain in situ as a semi-permanent installation to allow for collection of 24/7 continuous audio streams. The hydrophones will be in position for a minimum of 6 months to capture a full cycle of migrating marine life. Previous freshwater experiments by the team have shown that aquatic insect activity follows lunar patterns, which correlates to light intensity. It reasonably follows that marine life in the harbor would also exhibit activity patterns that correlate with light, as well as weather and temperature patterns. While some assumptions of activity patterns can be made, passive aquatic monitoring will provide the most reliable data to test these assumptions. And just to play a few sounds that we have collected. The first one was a mysterious sound for a long time collected by Troy and Brittany. And just checking the chat. And this is actually a pump house that was 15 kilometers from their recording location. So just to illustrate the distance that these mechanical intrusions can travel. And it's actually quite beautiful. So the next recording is from Throsby Creek, which is part of the Hunter River Network. And this is what I'm considering to be a neutral sound. So it's about the closest point to the CBD, Newcastle CBD, that is not affected by the port mechanic sounds. So this is one of the cleaner sounds that we'll get. So we have some gentle water and snapping shrimp, which is what we want to hear. Now, from the location pictured here, this is directly across from the general precinct of the harbor and right in the Newcastle CBD. So this is the area that has captured the most, or that we've audio captured the most, the noisiest soundscape. And this is from this location, really the impetus of this project to realize that there's a vast difference between the soundscape here and only 1 kilometer up the waterway. And so this is the primary recording location, recording races that we're showing that is can use it is purpose and oh no, I'm fine. Okay. Locations through the harbor are currently being negotiated with the Port of Newcastle to determine the optimal placement that allows for device safety and access and variations in marine life and vessel activity. Ideal placement will be several locations from the opening of the harbor through to Throsby Creek in the north and south channels of the Hunter River, which are the primary shipping channels. The audio data will be paired with vessel tracking data collected from an AIS, or Automatic Identification System, transponder API service to corroborate the noise profile of the recorded audio to harbor shipping traffic. The AIS data provides time, location, and cargo data that can be matched to the time-stamped audio data. Smaller recreational vehicles, such as jet skis, using and later analysis. And To provide some context, there are three primary entities in the Newcastle Harbour, including the Port of Newcastle, Port Waratah Coal Services, and the Port Authority of New South Wales. The Port of Newcastle is the largest coal exporter in the world and controls. Interesting political tension here because the Port of Newcastle is and owned 50% by a company based in China, like many other ports and land areas in Australia, which always lends a little bit of uncertainty with who you're actually talking to and what those motivations are. The Port Authority is a government agency that has oversight in terms of noise monitoring and policies for mitigation. However, their noise monitoring is land-based and mostly concerned with noise from cruise ships. So there's a little bit of checks and balances between the Port of Newcastle and the Port Authority. And then we have the Port Waratah Coal Services, the coal refinement and exporting plant within the lands of the Port of Newcastle. They also do land-based noise monitoring in surrounding suburbs. However, none of these entities are engaging in aquatic monitoring or long-duration aquatic monitoring. So there's a gap in the monitoring methods and information that we hope this project can fill. Further to partnering with the Port of Newcastle, there's been a very careful consideration of how this project is framed, because there's some caution from the port side. We've avoided any discussion of noise or coal or sound activism, framing the project instead as an art and community engagement project and emphasizing education in terms of acoustics and sound propagation. So with this crowd, I can be a little bit more honest about what we're doing. So the map here shows what areas the Port of Newcastle controls, and the drawn borders are physical borders. So most of the shoreline is actually inaccessible. It is fenced off behind security gates. The areas that are controlled by the port are those that we would like to install the recording kits. And we are still in discussion with the port as to what areas they will allow us to use, where they'll allow us to access, and how they'll allow us to access those, and at what frequency. So at this point, we have gathered recordings from the periphery of their controlled areas to narrow what areas we are requesting we can record from. The purple circles note the areas that we have recorded at thus far. The recordings gathered indicated that the area in the general cargo precinct is the noisiest, which is the last sound that we heard. However, again, in order to collect honest data and consider all other elements of sound intrusion, including both vessel noise and on-land port mechanics, we want to install kits directly to the areas controlled by the port. This will give us the benefit of proximity to the sound and noise sources, but also keep the kits protected from vandalism. And just as a tidy up, we are a couple of months behind schedule because it's proven a little bit more difficult to come to an agreement with the port on where the recorders will be placed. So far we've been given a grant or won a grant for $10,000. So we were able to buy 3 location recording kits using Frontier Labs recorders, Aquarian hydrophones, and we have an array of hard drives of like 100 terabytes because it's going to be a lot of data. So right now we are in that discussion of where exactly those hydrophones are going to be installed, and we hope to deploy them in May or early June. And that will catch the next migration season in Newcastle, which is June through November. And then while the recorders are out there, we'll every 3 weeks, we'll go and retrieve the data, change out the batteries. And as we're retrieving the data, we'll start to upload and start analyzing it through spectrograms, such as the one you see here in the background, which is a spectrogram of that last sound that we heard from the Newcastle CBD. So it's going to be a long process of analyzing the spectrograms between our science team and our artist team, but hopefully we can start to locate key events and patterns that will then start to inform what we are actually looking for, because right now it's really a blue skies project, we don't have the research question pinpointed because we need more data to formulate our research questions. So towards 2024, we'll start to hold community workshops, which will involve workshops around data sonification and visualization, as well as real-time listening workshops along the harbor in those publicly accessible areas. And then we'll draw some conclusions around the effectiveness of our community engagement, some possible noise mitigation strategies, and again, where we might go for the next level. So this is really, at this point, a seed project. It's just the beginning. We think this could be a very long-term project. And hopefully at the end of the next year, we'll have some very precise formulated research questions to take this to the next level. And in terms of our impact and engagement, again, we're looking at a group exhibition in 2024 with a variety of works, including sound works by myself, digital and analog data visualization pieces in ceramics. We're also working on an augmented reality sound walk partnered with the Newcastle Council. Again, those community workshops around data sonification and listening. And we're also developing an open access data repository, which is kind of part of another project around the transparency of ecological data, essentially. And then once we've gone through these group exhibitions and essentially finished this first round of project, then we'll start to write up the journal articles to get ready for the next research questions. And a little bit of visualization of Andrew Stein's and references. Some of you in the audience might actually be referenced here. And with that, I am happy to take questions.